Buffs fans, my name's Ryan Thorburn. I write for the Boulder Daily Camera covering CU men's basketball. To my left is Neill Woelk, legendary columnist from the Boulder Camera.
Legendary means old.
We're coming to you live from the Colorado versus Baylor game. It's the home opener in Big 12 play for the Buffs. They're 0-1. They lost at number 2, now number 1 Texas on Saturday. They're 9-6. They had an up and down non-conference, and they got to get something going. Neill, I guess, just in general terms, how do you see Jeff Buzdelik's third team going through the Big 12?
Well, at the beginning of the year, Ryan, I looked at the schedule and said this is a game that I thought they had a good chance to win. Baylor was picked to finish 10th or 11th in the Big 12. They were supposed to be rebuilding. This was a game you thought, okay, good chance for Colorado to get a win early in the schedule at home. Not such a good chance anymore. Baylor's, I think they moved into the top 25 this week. Right. They're a very talented team. They've got a good coach. They've got some good big men up front. They've got Lace Darius Johnson in the backcourt. They've got Tweety Carter, guys that can play the game. Very talented team. So the Big 12 is as tough a conference as there is in the nation. I don't know when you're going to see a game that Colorado is actually favored to win in the Big 12.
I don't see it happening. Maybe at home against Nebraska or Iowa State. And that's the difficult part about building a program from the bottom up in the Big 12 is who do you pass along the way to go up. Baylor was picked 10th in the preseason poll by the Big 12 coaches, so they thought with the senior class they lost that they'd be down this year, and they're in the top 20. I think they're 22 in the AP. They've got Odu is the kid's name, a transfer from Michigan. He just put a triple-double on the board the other night. He dominated Oklahoma. So it's going to be a tough matchup for the Buffs just because they have interior size with a 7-footer alongside Udo. And that's the common problem for the Buffs is size. However, this coaching staff behind us, Jeff Buzdelik and company, seem to match up pretty well with Scott Drew. They beat him in the Big 12 tournament 2 years ago, and last year they really had a road win in their sights and they just faltered down the stretch. So I think it's going to be a really good game tonight. And I'm like you, before the season I had this as one of CU's possible wins, and now they're going to have to play lights out to get it.
Yeah, and I'll say this, I think Jeff Buzdelik's team is a much improved team over a year ago. I think they have more talent, they're more experienced. Corey Higgins is a junior, he's one of the better players in the Big 12. Alec Burks is one of the best freshmen in the Big 12, if not in the nation right now. Austin Dufault has improved. Marcus Relford has been a terrific addition for this team, and I think they've got some very talented players. But having very talented players in the Big 12 is the norm. That's not the exception. And so I think tonight they have to get great play out of all their players in order to get a win tonight. Relford had 23 points against Texas the other day, had maybe his best game as a Buff. You've got to see that again tonight. You've got to see 20 out of Alec Burks again. You need to see 15 or 20 out of Corey Higgins, and you need to see him rebound if they're going to have a chance.
I think when CU wins games this year in the Big 12, and they may be few and far between, it's going to be because they outscore teams and because teams can't deal with their Princeton-style offense. I think, in my personal opinion, I think Alec Burks is a great story in the Big 12. I think he's a better overall player as a freshman than Richard Roby was as a freshman. So that's a pretty good piece to build around. Corey Higgins was third team all Big 12. The key is Marcus Relford, when they get a performance out of him like they did the other day, they have a chance to beat anybody except a team like Texas.
Yeah. And beating a team like, I mean, they're going to see the #1 team in the nation that was #1 last week for all intents and purposes. They're going to see #3 Kansas here in about 3 or 4 weeks. They're going to see great teams all up and down the conference lineup. And so they have to be at their best every night. Jeff talks about it all the time. You know, there's no margin for error with this team. If anybody has a bad night, then they're in trouble, and they have to play lights out. I do think they have a chance to win some games at home. They get people in this gym, they get people up here at altitude, and I think they have a chance to go ahead and get some wins. And this is still a chance. This is a chance tonight. Baylor does not, has not proven to be a great road team over the last few years in the Big 12. They're a young team. If they can get them shook up a little bit, maybe they can get out and get up on them.
Entering play tonight, the Big 12 conference is something like 116-1 at home. Iowa State dropped a home game to Northern Iowa. That's it. So you got to like the Buffs' chances just because they're at home. Before the season, I think this team had a realistic goal of produce a winning record, whether that's 16-14, 17-13. I think they needed to get a couple more non-conference games to do that, but if they can win 6 conference games, you're looking at 15-15 going into the Big 12 tournament with a chance. Do you see them winning 6 conference games?
You know, I went through the schedule the other night and tried to find 6 conference games that they're going to win. I mean, I think they've got a chance. You know, I still think they have a chance tonight. They have a chance against Nebraska. They have a chance against an Iowa State. Maybe a Missouri coming in here, maybe a Kansas State, maybe somebody that has a bad day, maybe a Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech comes here at the end of the season. So maybe you catch somebody like that. That still leaves the obstacle of a road win. They have to go on the road and pick up a win somewhere, which obviously this team hasn't done now for a couple of years. So do I see them winning 6 games? Only if they can get a couple of road wins, and that means going to an Iowa State or to a Nebraska, someplace like that, and picking up a win.
Yeah, I see them winning about 4, which is 3 more than they won last year, which is kind of disappointing, but at the same time, this is only game 2. They've got some nice pieces in place, and they have the ability to beat teams they're not supposed to, which they're going to have to do. So let's just see how it plays out. It's not looking great right now, but like Neill said, it's a better team, and the league has just raised itself. Yeah. So let's just see what happens, and hopefully you'll tune back in on the next episode.
We'll be back. Thanks for coming tonight.
All right.